Say hello to the Book of Mormon. Ben Brantley of the New York Times says the Book of Mormon is the best musical of this century. Winner of 9 Tony Awards, including Best Musical. The Book of Mormon. Performances begin February 12th at Robinson Performance Hall. Visit celebrityattractions.com.
Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Wednesday, February the 13th. Well, I guess the news is, it's not very newsy, but the Arkansas legislature continues to meet, and so you better watch your children and your pets when they're in town. Not a great deal is going to happen today. A couple of issues that are going to be voted on later today while it not yet happened. One is about whether the House will join the Senate in approving a measure to add Arkansas to the list of states to call a constitutional convention on amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Lots of good government people think this is a terrible idea. A runaway convention could put all kinds of bad things into the Constitution. This is driven by conservative forces that want to have a balanced budget amendment to end deficit spending, which could be particularly damaging in times of war. In any event, Arkansas may or may not join that movement. It's on the House agenda today. Also on the agenda today is another bad piece of legislation by Trent Garner, which is, I repeat myself when I say that, and that's to make it harder for third parties to get on the ballot in Arkansas. This would have an immediate impact on the Libertarian Party, which has managed to get on the ballot, and he would make it even harder for them. He's not interested in having competition among parties. Libertarians often tend to hurt Democratic candidates too, but I don't think we should be limiting ballot access. We should be encouraging it. The big news today is this is the final week at which people can file proposed amendments to the Arkansas Constitution, where we can change the organic law, and boy, it is a mess of bad stuff. There are already 3 proposals to make it hard to put initiated acts and constitutional amendments on the ballot by petitions. This is an anti-populist, anti-democratic thing. This arises from the special interest on the corporate side of the ledger. They don't want things put on the ballot unless the legislature puts them on there because they control the legislature. We have one Republican representative, Robin Lundstrom, that wants, believe it or not, to return to partisan election of judges. Crazy. She wants to be sure that we have nobody but Republicans deciding the law in her courts, I guess. Trent Garner, remember him, the worst legislature of the bunch, a runaway nominee, I'd say anyway, wants to go to annual sessions of the legislature, 60 days every year, so that people like him who don't have regular jobs and spend all their time dreaming up bad legislation can work on it year round, and incidentally take a whole lot more tax-free expense payments in the form of the per diem payments. Back again is the corporate lobby's tort reform measure, an attempt to put limits on non-economic damages to people injured by malpractice, nursing home negligence, and other corporate misdeeds. It would be left to the legislature to decide how much the life of a child or an old person was worth, no matter how grievously they were injured. They don't have much economic potential, so economic damages are not a big issue there. And finally, Vivian Flowers, state representative, says it's time to end the part of the Constitution that says slavery is not prohibited when it comes to people who've been sent to prison. She wants to end slave labor in the prison. Seems like a good idea. I can hear now the people saying, gee, let's have an economic impact on that. Don't know if we can afford to end slavery or not. That's Arkansas today. Well, yesterday, Mayor Frank Scott Jr. of Little Rock announced his 4 finalists for Little Rock Police Chief. 2 assistant chiefs, Alice Fulk and Hayward Finks in the Little Rock Department, are on the list. A police chief from Oklahoma and a retired police commander from Los Angeles are on the list. It's going to be a very interesting measure of the new mayor's leadership on who he chooses for this. I think the youngish police chief in Norman, Oklahoma looks like an interesting pick for this choice, and deciding between 2 internal candidates is always a difficult proposition, particularly given some of the currents that have tended to divide the Little Rock Police Department in recent times. Interesting story in the Atlantic this week about a climate study at the University of Maryland. They're looking years ahead to 2080 and what the weather is going to be like with climate change. They've concluded that it's the Arkansasification of U.S. weather patterns, that New York City's weather will be like Jonesboro by 2080. I wonder if that changed the politics in New York any. If you're wondering, Hot Springs would become more like Bogalusa, Louisiana. I've been to Bogalusa. You don't want Bogalusa weather, I assure you. Not much we can do about it, I'm afraid. And finally, this note for the many people from Arkansas who go down to Destin and the beaches of Florida every year for vacations. The Red Bar, a popular bar and restaurant in Grayton Beach, which was started by the Petit family of Little Rock, the famous restaurant family headed by Father Louis Petit. It burned almost to the ground this morning, destroyed by a fire. They don't know what was the cause. I'm resisting on political issues. I urge you to do the same. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.